Now, there was a question from here. Yeah, tell me.
The journey from the average to top of its house, what will you do extra for that?
These are few things that you will use everywhere. This is basically a growth strategy. And whatever I have used in my life during the college, I kept on using in my professional work and what I'm doing right now as well. So understand that it will take some time to see the results. And I think I've talked about this before as well. And there are a lot of names given to this as well, some valley or something. But you can just place it over here. But in general, everybody can see this part. Oh no, this is not working. So I'm just going to write it over. I'm just showing you this. This is also called bathtub curve in engineering. A lot of different names are given, but basically, when you're trying to work upon anything, when you're trying to grow in anything, any skill, what happens first is that you see a degradation and then it rises, or at least there are no growths for some time and then it rises. And that's the time when you're in the valley where everybody quits. And that's where the problem lies, because you are seeing so many people who decided that it is not possible, that those are the ones who are throwing out rumors that it's not possible, it does not work like this. Majority of the people giving you advices on a day-to-day basis are not the ones who have used those advices themselves. That's the problem. Like you'll see this with your parents as well, right? They will think that this is how you should be working hard, this is how you'll get marks, this is how you'll become a topper, this is how you'll improve your communication skill. But if you just respectfully look at your parents themselves, that have they used this? Probably not. Probably there's someone who told someone who saw a kid who grew a lot and they saw it from a third person perspective and they thought that it will work, and the reason why it is not working for you is this. And that's where the whole thing, like reading out newspaper loud to improve your communication skills, study long hours to improve your rank in your class or your percentage or to get good marks in your 12th board and all that, comes which actually do not work. But the thing is that when you try to improve a skill, you learn few things which will work for you. That's the problem. Like you want a tailor-made solution for what will give you improvement. But it does not really work like that. Nobody can tell you what will work for you. And those were like my initial days in the library. So in my school life, I used to bunk classes to go to a movie theater. And in my college life, I used to bunk classes to go to a library. So I would obviously not know how to study. I did not study more than a day before any examination until I was 18. But after that, I knew just one thing, that if I have to get good results, I have to study more. That's it. That's the base idea that I started with. And if I have to study, I have to go to a library. How many of you guys have lived in a hostel? Very nice. So you know what I'm talking about, right? You know that you can't study in a hostel. You can barely sleep in a hostel on time, right? Like it is very difficult and challenging to go to bed at 11 o'clock in a hostel, because that's where the life starts, in a hostel. But those are the challenges. If you have to wake up early in the morning, you have to go to bed early, you have to maintain a schedule, you have to take care of your health, you have to eat healthy. Most of the time your mess food might not work out. And if you have to study, then you have to go to the library. And even there you are having problems, because couples and so many people who find that place to socialize instead of study. And that's the thing different that I saw in America. In America, libraries are like pin drop silence. Nobody is going to make even a hiss over here. But in India, that's a place to socialize, because there are not much places to socialize, right? Where are you going to go? So library. And also, a lot of couples have to maintain the secrecy of their relation. so they have to go to the library. But that does not work for people who are trying to grow. And so I had an earphone. That's it. Have earphones, have the music playing, and stay in library. And that's what I started in the first semester of my college, stay in library. Most of the time in my first semester in my college, when I was sitting in library, I was just staring at the wall in front of me. I was not studying. So when I was sitting in the library for 4 hours, I was probably studying for just 1 hour or so. It was not giving me any improvement because, like I said, making a decision that you are going to change does not change you. At that point, I was just making a decision that I'm going to work towards my improvement. But the background that I came from, my body does not naturally accept that. So let us say that I was able to lift like 10 kgs with my hand. All of a sudden I make a decision that I'm going to lift 20 kgs. Will that work? No. But physically we understand those things. Mentally we do not understand. So far I'm used to studying like 2 hours, 1 week before the examination. And now the semester has begun and I've decided to study for 8 hours. That did not work. But it's fine. The point is that I stayed over there. And more importantly, because I stayed over there in library alone, I asked questions that most of us don't. How many of you guys even spend an hour alone? Alone. What do you do? I'm going to ask those questions to everyone. What do you do alone?
Think about parents.
Oh, you just sit down? Where do you sit down for an hour?
Sometimes in my hostel room because my roommates, we have different timetables.
Okay.
Sometimes they're just not.
So you don't like open Facebook and start scrolling when you're alone? You're like an enlightened person. Very few people do that. No?
The reason I do this because I write, and also I think about parents and what they tell me. Like, sometimes you just think about them because I'm also constantly thinking about growing, how I can get those coding problems right.
Okay.
Sometimes you just sit there and think about the problems.
That's good. Who else sits over there alone and thinks? Yeah, tell me, what do you do? When do you sit alone?
I think alone and
When and where?
in room only.
Okay.
I'd be just simply sitting and.
So this is like a interesting question because there's so many people who ask these questions to me, and most of the people would just straight up go to Netflix or some video or some movie, right? Like most of you guys did not raise your hand. So is that what you do? Like when you're alone, when you get time, you just watch something, right? So you don't watch those things alone?
I feel like I want to watch, but I'll keep my mobile aside
And just think?
Huh?
You just think about things?
Yeah, just think that what I have to do.
Oh,
What-
that's
what-
that's like really good because you guys are just a step ahead. Who raised? Yeah?
It is not like alone time in the sense I used to spend in my terrace.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. That's why I think people say that spend some time in nature as well because there's nothing to do in nature aside the fact that now you have cell phone in your nature as well. But the point that I'm making is that yeah.
Used to be alone, but most of the time I used to overthink.
Overthink? Oh yeah, that's
Yeah, answer towards the questions that I have.
that's a next level problem. But yeah, that's a problem in general. Okay, what is this? Like caramel or something? No? Okay, this is sweet, but it's fine. It's actually cooling me, so that's good. Okay, don't mind me sipping this every now and then. You know, speaking a lot makes my mouth parched. Okay, so I was saying, don't worry about it, Komal. That's fine. I'm going to drink it. I'm going to finish it too. Okay. All right. So what I was saying. Oh yeah. So these few are one of the very few who actually do what all of you should. And I did that unconsciously. Like I was not knowing what I was doing, but me just forcing myself to sit in library forced me to think about things. Like I said, out of 4 hours, I was just studying for 1 hour. So what are the other 3 hours going into? So that was going into thinking. And that is what I was not doing before. And that's when you ask questions like, what do I want to do with my life? Where is my life going? What skills do I provide? Like a lot of you complain a lot that those people don't give me respect, value, my parents act like this. But the truth and reality is that the values are given to valuable people. And what value do you bring on the table so that people respect you, so that people come after you? And there's nothing wrong in that. Is there anything wrong in creating value within you? No, right? Also, there's absolutely nothing wrong in thinking about growing and accepting the realities of this world. So those are the things that help me figure out that what I want to do, and that's where I started to understand and get a direction that I want to build a career in engineering. Now, even though you got into engineering, that's not something that you want to do, most of us, right? But luckily, coincidentally, I was sitting in an engineering college and I realized that, oh, I want to do engineering. Although I did understand what engineering I wanted to do. At that time, I was enrolled in information technology, and I understood that I want to do mechanical engineering. So I understood more about myself. But if you are thinking that you do not know what you want to do, what is your passion, and where you want your life to go, you are having existential crisis, think about yourself, and also sometimes think about like how you got over here, why you behave the way you behave. The only solution is not to go to a psychiatrist so that he or she opens your brain and tells you what you are. But sometimes you can introspect as well, right? That is something that I started to do. So whatever I share my information through my book, through my YouTube videos, through my podcast is all that I've applied on my life. I'm not going to talk about anything, unlike a lot of your parents, which I have not applied myself. If it is spoken English, if I applied myself, then I'm going to tell you. If it is confidence, if I've applied on myself, if it is writing, if I've done it myself, I'm going to tell you. And so goes with the growth mindset. And the thing about human beings is that if you give yourself logical answers of what you want to do, how you are going to do it, what are the logical ways to pursue it, what are your options right now, then you'll have a reason to chase. A lot of you who think that they want to crack gate examination, you think that you want to become a very good engineer, you think that you want to drop out from your college, you don't get that motivation or consistency because you have not thought it through. Because whenever it was time for you to think, you were investing time in videos and movies, talking to friends, right? When you're talking to friends, it's not an introspection. You're basically just sharing information. You're not thinking properly. And if you write, you know writing is one of the best medication, because when you write, you think a lot. Writing is the most processed form of thinking, more than speaking, because when I'm right now speaking, I'm kind of thinking on spot and saying what I think. But when you write and rewrite, there's so much thinking. I wrote this book with 12 drafts. So I've thought the same things 12 times for 5 years. So I've made up my mind that this is what I think. This is what is the story that happened. This is the journey for me to get into Indian Space Research Organization. Maybe writing. The other thing that I started to use in my second year was speaking. And this is the method that I discuss over time in Art of Speaking. The way that I found out to improve my communication skill is very simple. If I'm going to get better at speaking, I'm going to be speaking. That's the thing. Anything that you're going to be better at, you have to practice again and again, fail a lot, remain consistent at it. And that's why I picked speaking. So I kept on speaking for 20 minutes at least in front of mirror. And that's where I started to explain more about what are my thoughts. And that clear understanding gave me a clarity. Like, I do not know what you think, but Komal knows that in Delhi seminar, a lot of people were asking me this question: how do you have that much clarity? So far, you have not asked much questions to me, but when you start asking questions, most likely I'll have an answer, because I have a simple approach to life and I have a clear-cut mindset. And the reason for that clarity might be that I have thought a lot. So thinking is very important. And then, see, the question was so simple, right? How do you become a topper being an average student? But it's not that easy of an answer. It is so many different things. I can tell you, oh, I used to study for 8 hours in library and that's how I become a topper. But why and how did I study for 8 hours after I'm not even used to study for 2 hours? How did I do that? And that is more of a mentality thing. That is why in my Momentum podcast and my art podcast, I talk about mindset and mentality a lot, because that is the guiding force behind everything. And that is why this book is a journey of a guy who is trying to become a scientist at Indian Space Research Organization. But then again, mostly it will go towards like mentality, what he was thinking, how he saw the world, how he adapted accordingly, because that is the ultimate factor that is going to continue on guiding you. So when I did this, like in a year or so, I understood that number one, it is possible. Number two, this curve, like, okay, I have to be consistent and the growth will come, and over time it did come. And a lot of times I meet students who will say that, oh, I'm not able to crack this examination, but I see the growth. Like, okay, I was able to score 120 last time, then the next time I was able to score 125, the cutoff is 130, now I'm able to score 128. So the world is seeing every time it's a failure, 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 right? 3 times qualification is not there. Failure, failure, failure. But you alone know that there's some growth. Yes or no? So you will always know that there's some growth, there's some progress. Don't wait for the world to give you that attestation. I say this all the time. I was All India Rank 4 in Indian Space Research Organization on August 24th. It was a Friday. I don't remember the exact date. Exact date is over here. But was that day on which I was really All India Rank 4? Or was it August 17th, 2018, the day I gave the ISRO interview? What is the date today? It's 19th August, right? There's a reason why I organized Chennai seminar on this particular day, because 17th August 2018 was a Friday, and that's the day I gave the interview of Indian Space Research Organization. The center was in Pallavaram. Heard of that name? There's a Sriharikota guest house over there. That's where the interview took place. And these days are very important. It is that is why the book is published somewhere close to that. And I became All India Rank 4 on 17th August 2018. That's the day I gave the interview. So obviously, logically, that's the day I became All India Rank 4. But say someone comes to me on 19th of August 2018 and, hey, what are you doing right now? Oh, I have been last in the training school of Department of Atomic Energy, and before that I was unemployed for 1 year. I do not know what is going to happen in future. So that's the situation, right? But you only know what is the result. I myself knew that I am a scientist in Indian Space Research Organization on the day I gave the interview. And same goes with everything before that as well. If you talk about 2017, I gave the Bhabha Atomic Research Center written test on March 26, 2017. I gave the interview on 9th June 2017. And the results came somewhere around July, right? But on, let us say, 11th June 2017, if someone asks me, hey, what are you doing? So I'm like, oh, I graduated more than a year ago and I've been unemployed ever since. My gate rank was 1825. I have not got any call from any public sector undertaking, and I've not got any calls from IIT MTechs as well. But that is on paper. And the result comes in, let us say, 25th July, and all of a sudden you are a BARC scientist, right? But that's the thing, the world will require all these certificates and medals. You should not require them. The problem is you require the world to tell you how much worthy you are. And those are the growth stages. You have to understand your worth. If you are working, it can only go in a positive direction. Understand this. Like even I told you, right, if I'm spending 5 hours in library, only 1 hour is effective. I'm studying only for 1 hour. But those other 4 hours are also not going in waste, right? It's better than sitting out with friends and drinking or wasting time chatting and talking bad things about people you don't like. It's still better, right? Those went into thought process. I thought about where I should be going, what I should be doing, what I want from life. It is still better than doing all the other unproductive stuff. So if you're investing time on yourself, towards what you want to do, towards growth, it can go only one direction. It's just that it takes some time. It's as simple as that. And you should be able to pay that time. Everything comes with a cost, right? At least it's not money. It's something that you already have. And the fun thing about time is that it is going to go no matter what you do with it. Even if you waste it, it's gone. You utilize it, it's gone. Time is a currency more valuable than money. Understand this very deeply, especially for students. Later on, money might be more valuable for you, but right now, you have time, and that is the only thing that allows young people to compete with old people, because young people have more time, even though old people have more money. Okay? So those are the things that turned an average student into a topper. Not as simple as I studied a lot. Yeah, basically if someone says that, explain in one line, I studied a lot. But wasn't that answer you already knew? How does one average student becomes a topper? Either he cheats a lot and does it very well, or he studies a lot. So you know I studied a lot, but how did I do that? That is very important. Just like why I left ISRO was not as important as how I left ISRO. Okay? Do we have more questions, ladies and gentlemen?